I got my hands on the Apocrypha, and guess what? It has 2 Maccabees, 3 Maccabees, and 4 Maccabees. 2 Maccabees has 15 chapters. 3 Maccabees has 7 chapters. 4 Maccabees has 18 chapters. Now, I have been traditionally known to read Maccabees during Hanukkah, and my family started doing that because of a cartoon called the Rugrats Hanukkah, and it was called, I think it might have just been called Rugrats Hanukkah, but it was about the Maccabees, that's what it was called, Maccabees. But it was, like a little cartoon on the Maccabees. So I already have a video in this playlist called Maccabees, and the first Maccabees is 16 chapters, so it was little over an hour if you want to read or hear me read to you all of 1 Maccabees. I'm really excited, I guess, to read 2 Maccabees to you. So this is what it says about 2 Maccabees. It says 2nd Maccabees is an epitome or an abridgment of a 5-volume history that is now lost. It is written by Jason of Cyrene, that's with a C, C-Y-rene. Both Jason's work and 2 Maccabees were evidently composed in Greek, in which language the latter has been preserved. Jason narrated the events of Jewish history from the time of the high priest Onias III and the Syrian king Seleucus IV to the defeat of Nicanor's army. Now, Nicanor's army you're going to find about in 1 Maccabees when I read it, and Nicanor was stretching out his arm arrogantly. And I believe he lost his arm and his head in that story. Anyway, it says this happened in 180 to 161 BC, and it parallels in 1 Maccabees 1, lines 1 Maccabees 1, 10 through 7.5. It says, the purpose of Jason was to interpret the history theologically. One of his favorite themes is the sanctity of the temple, and he is the first writer known to us to celebrate the deeds of the martyrs. Though there is a foreshadowing of such an interest in the book of Daniel, he also seems to be the first to teach clearly that the world was created out of nothing. He believed the saints in heaven intercede for men on earth, and that the living might pray and offer sacrifices for the dead. His book includes accounts of marvelous portents and the miraculous intervention of angels. Jason seems not to have been a Pharisee. He may reflect the ideas of the Jews at Antioch or possibly Alexandria. The epitomist added chapters 1, 2, and 15, and 37 to 39, several pretentious comments elsewhere. Sometimes there's signs of careless abbreviation, and some incidents may be rearranged. Jason's history was probably not written before 110 BC. 2 Maccabees, as we have it, may have been composed sometime during the 1st century. It often supplements information containing in 1 Maccabees, but its historical veracity is, on the whole, it says less trustworthy than Maccabees, but that's just somebody's opinion. I am pretty sure I read 2 Maccabees before, and it sounded just like 1 Maccabees. So this is what it says. Here's 2 Maccabees 1. The Jewish brethren in Jerusalem and those in the land of Judea to their Jewish brethren in Egypt. Greetings and good peace. May God do good to you, and may he remember his covenant with Abraham and Isaac and Jacob, his faithful servants. May he give you all a heart to worship him and do his will with a strong heart and a willing spirit. May he open your heart to his law and his commandments. May he bring peace. May he hear your prayers and be reconciled to you. May he not forsake you in time of evil. We are now praying for you here. In the reign of Demetrius, in the 169th year, we Jews wrote to you in the critical distress which came upon us in those years, after Jason and his company revolted from the Holy Land and the kingdom and burned the gate and shed innocent blood. We besought the Lord, and we were heard, and we offered sacrifice and cereal offerings, and we lighted the lamps, we set out the loaves. And now, see that you keep the Feast of Booths in the month of Chislev in the 188th year. Those in Jerusalem and those in Judea and the Senate and Judas, to Aristobulus, who is of the family of the anointed priests, teacher of Ptolemy the king, and to the Jews in Egypt. Greetings and good health. Having been saved by God out of our grave dangers, we thank him greatly for taking our side against the king, for he drove out those who fought against the holy city. For when the leader reached Persia with a force that seemed irresistible, they were cut to pieces in the temple of Nania by a deception employed by the priests of Nania. For under pretext of intending to marry her, Antiochus came to the place together with his friends to secure most of its treasures as a dowry. When the priests of the temple of Nania had set out treasurers, and Antiochus had come with a few men inside the wall of the sacred precinct, they closed the temple as soon as he entered it, opening the secret door in the ceiling. They threw stones and struck down the leader and his men and dismembered them and cut off their heads and threw them to the people outside. Blessed in every way be our God, who has brought judgment upon those who have behaved impiously. Since the 25th day of Chislev, we shall celebrate the purification of the temple. We thought it necessary to notify you, in order that you may celebrate the Feast of Booths and the Feast of the Fire, given when Nehemiah, who built the temple and the altar, offered sacrifices. For when our fathers were being led captive to Persia, the pious priests of that time took some of their fire of the altar and secretly hid it in the hollow of a dry cistern, where they took such precautions that the place was unknown to anyone. But after many years had passed, when it pleased God, Nehemiah, having been commissioned by the king of Persia, sent the descendants of the priests who had hidden the fire to get it. And when they reported to us that they had not found fire but thick liquid, he ordered them to dip it out and bring it. And when the materials for the sacrifices were presented, Nehemiah ordered the priests to sprinkle the liquid on the wood and what was laid upon it. When this was done, some time had passed, and the sun, which had been clouded over, shone out, and a great fire blazed up, so that all marveled. And while the sacrifice was being consumed, the priests offered prayer. The priests and everyone Jonathan led, and the rest responded as did Nehemiah. The prayer was offered to this effect: O Lord, Lord God, creator of all things, who art awe-inspiring and strong and just and merciful, who alone art king and art kind, who alone art bountiful, who alone art just and almighty and eternal, who does rescue Israel from every evil, who did choose the fathers and consecrate them, accept this sacrifice on behalf of all thy people Israel, and preserve thy portion and make it holy. Gather together our scattered people, set free those who are slaves, among the Gentiles. Look upon those who are rejected and despised. Let the Gentiles know that thou art our God. Afflict those who oppress and are insolent with pride. Plant thy people in the holy place, as Moses said. Then the priests sang the hymns. And when the material of the sacrifices were consumed, Nehemiah ordered that the liquid that was left should be poured on large stones. When this was done, a flame blazed up. But when the light from the altar shone back, it went out. When this matter became known, it was reported to the king of the Persians that in the place where the exiled priests had hidden the fire, the liquid had appeared with which Nehemiah and his associates had burned the materials of the sacrifice. The king investigated the matter and enclosed the place and made it sacred. And with those persons whom the king favored, he exchanged many excellent gifts. Nehemiah and his associates called this Nephthar, which means purification.